Friends, on behalf of ISTD Navi Mumbai, Higher Education Forum, SISLLD, and other allied institutions, we extend a very hearty welcome to all of you for this very interesting and the relevant topic of design thinking. When we talk about the critical thinking, design thinking, developing a prototype, problem solving, etc., etc., these have become extremely important nowadays, both in terms of solving the problems as a teaching tool. So these have become extremely important. So we thought that we will have a discussion on this. And to talk on this particular topic, we have an expert in this particular area. We have Dr. Sandeep Sawant with us, who has got around 30 years of experience in put together. He has got about 10 years of experience in academics, about 20 years of experience in the corporate, and he is a person of strategy, vision, and the leadership. He has also led Management Institute, Kohinoor Management School. He holds a double post-graduation degree, both the MBA in marketing as well as the MSc in chemistry, and also holds a PhD degree in the sustainable management or sustainable marketing. So, on behalf of all of you, I think we extend a hearty welcome to Dr. Sandeep Saban and request you to please take over. Sir, the floor is open to you.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yeah, you're audible. Please go
Okay,
ahead.
okay, okay. So I take this opportunity to thank Dr. A.K. Sen Gupta, founder, Higher Education Forum, Dr. Anjali Kalse, Director, Bharatiya Vidyapit Institute Management Studies and Research, Dr. Vaishali Patil, Chairperson ISTD, Navi Mumbai, and Dr. Kuldeep Bhalerao, Secretary of ISTD, Navi Mumbai. So I thank you all for giving me this opportunity to share my experiences and insights on design thinking. Yes, design thinking, as we were just discussing before the session commenced, has made a lot of inroads. It was already there in the corporates last 7 to 8 years, and then slowly now it is making inroads in the academics, and it's very essential because and there is a lot of confusion about design thinking. People think it has something to do with design and whether it is a technology tool. So, design thinking is a social tool. It is basically applying the principles of design to business problems. Okay. And the essential element of design thinking is empathy. What is important is how we empathize. In a way, design thinking gives us an alternative to conventional market research or conventional research process. Because conventional market research gives us only the obvious solutions. Design thinking perhaps can be used to solve the wicked problems, problems which have got no obvious solutions. So when we talk wicked problems, like say problem of what you can say biodiversity, problem of climate change, problem of say malnutrition, problem of say education, for all this design thinking do has got answers. And during the entire this session, I'll be bringing corporate examples as well as social examples where how they have used design thinking to come out with solutions which have actually solved problems. Okay. So just look at this slide. I think many of us have gone through this frustration. The phone charger typically breaks exactly right where I have shown. Yes, and this happens. This happens. So it's basically the greatest unsolved problem in the history of design. Why does every phone charger breaks right here only? I mean, see, we are living in an era of, say, chat GPT, driverless cars, AI boyfriend, girlfriends, but a charger lasting for 6 months is just impossible. And same is the case with earphones. Every time we keep it in our bag with respect, they come out looking like a ball of Hakka noodles. So these are not product issues. These are not product issues. These are empathy issues. These are empathy issues because someone somewhere said users will manage it. And that is how design thinking was born, because of the world got tired of managing issues or managing these things. Okay. So why does world require design thinking? And why it is the need of the hour? One thing we all will agree, we are living in a VUCA world, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, and things are changing at a frenetic pace. Okay. In fact, they say the world is moving from VUCA to a David world, digitalization, artificial intelligence, verticalization, innovation, all these things. So if we look around us, there are apps, there are forms, there are websites, we have remote control with 72 buttons and customer care number that says press 1 if you are frustrated, press 2 if you are frustrated. In a world full of badly designed experiences, design thinking is not a skill today, it's a survival strategy. Yes, design thinking is a survival strategy. I know the audience today is a mix of corporates, academicians, and MBA students, and other students also. So, for students, for MBA students, typically, this is basically important to survive their group projects, their internship projects, their employability readiness. For corporates, it is required to survive their customers' changing, what you can say, expectations, changing preferences. And for academicians, we all need it not only to manage the generation Z, but overall the what you can say understanding the students and making them employable. Now, I have put three examples over there. One is Apple, other is Airbnb, and Tata IMG. Now, everyone will agree and everyone will immediately say Apple is the most innovative company. Yes, because the kind of products they had been, what you can say, bringing to the market, it's the most innovative company. But Apple is not just an innovative company. The core competency of Apple is to making us believe we need something we did not knew existed. Okay. Because when iPod was launched, nobody woke up saying, I wish I had 1,000 songs in my pocket. But Apple said it with design. Steve Jobs used to always say, I don't do any market research because many times the latent need of the customer is not himself aware. Taking it back to the beginning of 20th century, when Henry Ford came up with car, he said, if I would have done market research, people would have asked me to come up with a better horse cart. I would not have come up with car because people at those during those days were not able to envisage what a car can be or what is possible, right? Another example, Airbnb. Now, Airbnb, especially for Generation Z, I would like to tell, they never started with the app first. Okay, because now since the current generation, Generation Z, Generation Alpha, born with apps, they feel the entire world is made up of app. But Airbnb never started with app. In fact, they started by sleeping on their floor with strangers. Today, what we call it as empathy, back then it was called as desperation. Another example, Tata 1MG. Okay. Now, Tata 1MG, when they were doing this, what you can say, research or rather ethnographic research, they realized that Indians, they don't fear medicines, but they fear medical jargons. By Indians, I don't mean only people staying in Mumbai, Delhi, Calcutta. I'm talking about, say, tier 2, tier 3 cities as well as rural areas also. So they don't fear medicines, but they fear jargons. If you tell them you have viral, they panic. But if you tell them कि गर्मी लग गई है, they are comfortable. So that was the idea with which Tata 1MG was born. So what exactly is design thinking? Okay. So as the center of economic activity in the world shifts from industrial manufacturing to knowledge delivery, to knowledge creation and service delivery, innovation has become more than a survival strategy. As I said earlier, living in a VUCA world, today organizations have to integrate their software with hardware and they have to make it intuitive and user friendly. Organizations as well as countries are facing multifaceted problems. One problem can be how can we reinvent the healthcare system? How can we tackle the climate change? Right now, COP30 is on. Okay. So, organization and people also need help in making their interaction with technology, complex system to be simple, intuitive, and pleasurable. Design per se is much closer to the center of enterprise. It's not about aesthetics, it's applying the principles of design to the way people work. Tim Brown, okay, who has got IDEO Studio and has done a lot of work in design, right from say creating studios for movies, VFX, as well as other designs and all. His definition is design thinking is a human-centered approach to innovation that draws from the designer's toolkit. Basically, designer's toolkit means when we say designer, but what designers used to do, they used to sketch, they used to draw, they used to visualize, and they used to create prototype. So what design thinking does is basically the this what you can say parameters of visualization, sketching, drawing, prototyping, they have brought it to solve business problems, okay, or rather human problem. Because when we say a problem, business problem, it is not a business problem, it is actually a human problem. So as I said, design thinking, it's at the intersection of the desirability of people, whether it is technically possible, and business viability. So that is experience innovation. So it happens at the cusp of what you can say emotional innovation, process innovation. So what we get is experience innovation. So three critical things are the product, the service should be desired by people. Okay. It should be technically or technologically possible. And third is it should be viable. Now, Thomas Alva Edison, the world's greatest inventor and what you can say the owner of GE. Now, it's his famous experiment of electric bulb. Okay. So when he failed for 1,000 times and when people were trying, you stop working this, he said, I know 1,000 ways of what will not work. So those 1,000 ways were the iterations. Okay. Iterations for prototyping and getting feedback. So thinking like a designer can transform the way we develop product, services, vision, and strategy. So when he invented electric bulb, he realized that just an electric bulb would be a parlor trick because a electric bulb without power transmission and power generation is of no use. So the genius of Edison was in envisioning a fully developed marketplace and not just a discrete device. So what is important? So when we look at Thomas Alva Edison, he was a scientist, but more than scientist, he had clarity as where this device or the product will be used. Means what need of the end user he is going to what you can say satisfy. So envisioning how people would want to use it, he engineered towards that insight. So what is important? Design thinking helps us to find out user needs and preferences. If we look at Amazon, Jeff Bezos, when he started as a what you can say online place to sell books, okay, his website initially he sold only books, but from there he moved on from selling books to he created third party, he created marketplace, he started what you can say selling Kindle, then he started making movies, then he went into production studios, and then he went into cloud computing. So rather than becoming product centric, he followed his customer. He became customer centric, fulfilling their needs and preferences. So the greatest teacher is failure because normally the approach towards failure is we have failed. But basically, if we look at all the experiments, all the inventions, they were result of what you can say failure. So one critical thing in design thinking is fail often to succeed sooner. Fail often to succeed sooner. It has got 5 steps or 5 stages. Okay. So empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So empathize. When we say now this, all this in the later half, I'll be doing in detail. Right now, I'll just take you through the empathy stage, define stage, ideate, and prototype and test. So empathize. It is about listening to people, not to reply, but to realize how weird we all are. Define stage is coming up with point of view, converting complaints into clarity. Instead of my students don't listen, how might we design a class that competes with Instagram reels? Then we go towards ideation. Normally, ideation means we go wild. Okay, normally ideation is brainstorming, but the way ideation is done in design thinking is go wild. Brainstorm like you have no budget and no boss watching. Then comes prototyping. Prototyping. Now, this is important because we have to test our final products. So make something small, quick, and get it tested. You get a feedback. And then finally, you can test with the end users or the real users. They will immediately understand if in the way you have not understood. Now, one mini activity, if anybody is really interested, what is the one frustration you want to be solved? Okay. If I ask this normally, when I ask people this uh, question during my sessions, what is the one daily frustration which you want to solve? And most of my workshops, I have realized no one says that I want to fix economic inequality. No one says we need to manage climate change. But most of the things are like corporate people say the new joinee write emails like FIR report. People say my shampoo bottle never opens in the bathroom, or my Zomato guy can't find the building, or my laptop always keeps updating when I am in hurry. So these are the tiny frustrations where big innovations hide. Okay. So for MBA students, design thinking is the ultimate hack. Now, this is what you can say. I'm using their jargon. Design thinking is the ultimate hack because it will help you to think clearly, structure your answers, stand out in group discussion, and survive internships. Your summer internship, or what you can say, if you have bigger internships towards the end. And because when your mentor says use common sense, many a times the current generation doesn't know where to download it. So it helps, in fact, for MBA students, for any students, it will help them to design their career because life is not linear. Life is one giant prototype. Test, fail, iterate. Okay, test, fail, iterate. For corporates, design thinking is magic. Now, why it is magic? It reduces failures, misunderstandings, arguments, and prolonged meetings. So design thinking helps corporates or organization to understand what customer actually wants, not what they said in the survey at 11:59 p.m. just to get a rupees 50 Amazon voucher. And for all of us, the academicians, design thinking is a blessing because it's certainly making teaching less of a monologue and more of a let's figure this out together experience. Student today learn through reels with a cat dancing in a background. So design thinking helps us to redesign learning for the generation that has attention span of a cold coffee. Okay. So what is design thinking? It is applying methods and techniques used by designers to inform and solve business non-design problem. So design thinking is basically, I would put it a simpler definition. It is the art of reducing human frustration and increasing human happiness. One empathetic idea at a time. And if nothing else, at least we might finally get a charger that survives for 12 months. Okay. So it has got three I's: inspiration, ideation, implementation. So inspiration is basically the discovery stage. This is where we explore. This is where we try to understand our, what you can say, consumer, our students, our end users. So we do research. What are the various ways that we will see later on. Then ideation stage. Second is the ideation stage. Here we try and test some ideas to see what sticks. And finally, the implementation, where we create the prototype and test with the end user. Now, as I said, empathy is more about learning the audience for whom we are designing by observation and interview. Who is my user and what matters to this person? This is more important than what you want. Define is the creating point of view. What are the actual needs and what needs we are going to solve through this problem? Ideate is to get more and more ideas, okay, so which we can have a more optimum solution. Prototype is, of course, to get the feedback, and test is finally testing with the end users. So now this is another view of design thinking. There are 5 steps, but this is called as double diamond model of design thinking, because design thinking moves through divergent and convergent thinking. Divergent and convergent. We diverge during the exploration stage, then we again converge when we come towards point of view, then we again diverge for analysis, and then we again converge for synthesis. So there are 4 Ds. Discover.
Connect again soon.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll connect. I'll connect.
Power on. Get ready to port to the future.
Uh,
Bluetooth mode. Your device is ready to. You are now connected to your SoundDrum 1.
am I audible? Hello?
Yes, it's audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
I'm audible now?
Audible, audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
where
Yes,
where
sir.
was I lost my what you can say audio? Hello?
On the analysis synthesis bit, sir.
Okay. So here,
Diverge to
right? Okay.
converge.
So yeah. So design thinking basically it has got 4 Ds: discover, define, develop, deliver. Okay, so discover gives you insight into the problem. So as I said, it goes through divergent ideas and conversion, means you first diverge and then you converge throughout the process. There is one more slide which will make it more clear. Like, as I said, design thinking is an iterative process. Okay, it's a non-linear iterative process in which we try to understand our user, challenge his assumptions, redefine problems, and create innovative solutions which we can prototype and test. Okay. So, as I said, when we look at this, empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test. So from test, we get feedback that can give us what you can say newer ideas. From prototypes, we can get sparks for new ideas. From test, we can again move back to empathize. So this way it goes on, means it goes on through the iteration that Thomas Alva Edison had said. It is basically he had failed 1,000 times, but not necessarily 1,000 times. So this is the structure, or this is the actual process of design thinking. Okay, so so far any questions? Hello?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, can I go ahead?
Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so step first, as I said, empathy. So understanding people better than they understand themselves. So it is not asking what they want, it is understanding what they feel, what they struggle, and what they don't know how to express. In traditional research, we ask, what do you want? and people say, yes, this is what I want, but that is not the reality. In design thinking, we ask, what do you do, how do you behave, what frustrations you encounter, and how do you work around problems. So empathy helps us to read between the lines. It helps us, basically it goes through the tools which are normally used during empathy stage. One is customer journey map, the empathy maps, and of course studying extreme users, because by studying extreme users we get a lot of insights which many a times normal users fail to give. So this empathy stage focuses more on finding out the pain points, what the consumer or what the end user is saying, what he must be thinking, how he feels, and how he does. Okay, so these are the things which we can, what you can say, unearth from the empathy stage. In fact, like ethnographic research, like say when Honda wanted to create cars for the European market, what they did was, rather than doing the technical feasibility study or consumer research, they packed their engineers and R&D scientists and asked them to drive around the roads of Europe to understand the terrain. Okay, so this is one way of empathizing with the end user. So few examples of what you can say where empathy has been used, like say Zomato's contactless delivery. Okay, so nobody told Zomato during COVID that we want contactless delivery, but they created the feature where the delivery person leaves food at the door. People expressed fear and anxiety because people had fear and anxiety, so they created this process. So Zomato during that time, they empathized with the emotion and not with the transaction. The result was contactless delivery. Okay, so basically this contactless delivery is an example of not technological innovation but more of behavioral innovation. Second is Arvind Eye Hospital. I think we all know this case. So, rural patients were just not worried about cost, but about dignity, trust, and treated with respect. So what Arvind Hospital did was they redesigned the entire consultation flow, the waiting area, the what you can say the communication style, and the surgery experience to match the emotional needs and not just the medical needs of the consumers, of the patients. So the core message about empathy is about seeing what people do, not just listening to what they say, but trying to find out or get their pain points, what makes them happy, what are their emotions, what frustrates them. So these all things help us in the empathy stage. Of course, there are various tools. Three of the tools which I have told you over here is basically the customer journey maps, empathy maps, understanding extreme users. Then there is 5 I technique, and there are like getting looking at analogies. So there are several other tools which I have not kept over here. Then second stage is the define stage. Okay, see, many a time what happens in organization is people immediately jump to solution. We need an app, let's go digital, we need AI intervention. So design thinking basically is a pause. We ask, what is the human need, what is the behavioral barrier, what emotion is blocking the experience, and the outcome is how might we. Okay, so what happens once we do the empathy research where we diverge during the define stage, we try to converge. We try to find out which is the actual pain point or which is the actual thing which is frustrating the end user. And so we try to diverge and we come up with the problem statement. How might we? So, how might we help students to become more employable? Tools used over here are, one is affinity diagram, second is persona, and as I said, how might we statements. Okay, few examples like say Swiggy, Instamart, and this is Ola scooters. Okay, so if empathy is looking closely, defining is zooming in on the real problem, not the obvious one. Okay, so in Ola, if you look at Ola, the team discovered when they were interacting or empathizing with the users, no one said that I want an electric scooter. Okay. They were saying petrol prices are unpredictable, maintenance is expensive, and we want something which is smart but not cheap. Okay. So when they were empathizing, they came up with a point of view. How might we create a smart connected scooter that feels like a smartphone on wheel? Now, this emerged out of their empathy research and when they were interacting with the end users. So, this problem statement is how might we create a smart connected scooter that feels like a smartphone on wheels? This problem statement led to a large touch dashboard, a GPS which was designed very well, app control feature, and predictive maintenance. Another example, Swiggy Instamart. Okay. So Swiggy never said, let's compete in the grocery delivery. What they, after the empathy research and all, they felt the problem statement or their point of view was, how might we save people from the pain or last minute grocery emergencies? So this problem definition helped them to sharpen their category. Okay. So it became need it now convenience and not the general grocery. So this helped them to define a new category in the e-commerce segment itself. So if empathy is looking closely, defining is zooming on the real problem and not the obvious. The third stage is ideation. So as Albert Einstein used to say, if at the first the idea is not absurd, then there is no hope for it. So here the ideation is entirely different. Okay, many a times what is done in design thinking is work alone together. Okay, so there are various, like there are like once we have lot of what you can say inputs or insights from what you can say the customer journey map, from the what you can say empathy maps, okay, from the extreme users, then we create the affinity diagrams, we create what you can say point of view. After that, a lot of insights are gathered. Then in design thinking, we move for ideation. The first important thing is quantity move or quantity over quality. Quantity over quality. This is the first thing. Okay. So what they allow is basically divergent thinking, wild impractical ideas, building on each other, and freezing mind from constraints. Okay. Now, when I say lighting demos is looking at our affinity diagram, looking at our empathy map, looking at our customer journey map, and from that we get a lot of insights. We can also look in other industry, try to cross pollinate ideas from other industry. Then there is something called crazy eight. What people in the process, in the design thinking ideation stage, they individually work on several ideas. So they have lots of ideas out of which they pick up one idea and create 8 variations out of it. Okay, so this also, and this actually I have also experienced when I have done these workshops with corporates or with students. Because normally what happens if we don't do this kind of ideation, we get all those traditional and conventional ideas and conventional solutions. Then there is another tool which is Scamper, that is where S stands for substitute, C stands for combine, A stands for adopt, M stands for modify, P stands for put to another use, E stands for eliminate, and R stands for reverse. So here a few examples, like again, I am using Tata 1mg example. Okay. So ideation helped Tata 1mg create features like dosage reminder, simple language labels, and drug interaction warning. So basically, as I've written over here, ideation pushes us beyond logic into possibilities. It expands the solution universe before narrowing it. Okay. Another example again, which I had told initially, like Apple's iPod. Okay. Now, of course, they have discontinued iPod and all, but ideating on different ways of listening to music led to what if we could carry 1,000 songs in your pocket? So 1,000 songs in your pocket is something, emotion. Another example is IRCTC. Okay. So travelers used to often complain about the unhygienic pantry food, vendors charging more, long waiting time. Now, these are all insights which they have gathered. So, how might we, what you can say, the food during traveling can be made better or as per the convenience of what you can say the travelers. So, this ideation led to eating food delivered directly to their seats via app. Okay, then the next stage is prototype. Make it fast, make it rough, make it real. As I said, fail often to succeed sooner, because prototype helps. In a sense, a prototype is a lot better than the actual going on for the product, because it gives you a lot of insights based on which you can refine your, what you can say, the point of view, and come up with new prototypes and again test it. So prototypes are not the final solution. A prototype can be, it can be a paper sketch, it can be a storyboard, it can be a workflow, it can be rough digital mock-up, even it can be just a role play, right? So one example of prototype is Amazon press release. Whenever they come up with a new product or a new process, what they do is, now this is a unique prototype technique which Amazon uses. They write mock press release before building anything. Okay, so they write a mock press release. So this gives them clarity about what the product is, who it is for, what problem it solves, and the prototype which they create is in words and not code. Another example which I have put over here is Tata's Nexon electric vehicle. So before designing this vehicle, what they created was, they created interior rough models. They mocked up the dashboards. They tested charging cable storage. They simulated the driving noise, not to perfect it. So prototype is basically not to perfect, but to learn what users expect in an EV or EV, okay, to feel like. So the goal is to see the idea and not just imagine it. So this is what prototype stage helps in. Then comes the final stage, that is testing. Okay. The final stage is testing. So testing is not for validation. Testing is not for approval, and it is not for press collection. Basically, testing is done just to observe how our idea survives in the real world. Okay. So what is done, the prototype is given to the end user, and we ask in the process to use it. So we try to find out where the end user is hesitating, which feature he ignored, what is frustrating him, what they expect next. So it reveals truth behind their behavior. So testing is basically learning what breaks. So example is basically, again, what you can say, Swiggy 10 minutes delivery. So before going large scale, they tested this, what you can say, 10 minutes delivery in small clusters. Okay. So users loved the speed. Many orders were too large for 10-minute delivery. And kitchens also have to be modified. The kitchens of the, what you can say, they had to modify the kitchen layout also. And riders had also expressed a lot of stress. Okay. Another example is Nike app. Okay. So Nike tested its foot scanner AI app, and it redesigned the experience of the user, because many a times the user of this Nike app, they used to keep phone at different angle, or they were not properly using it. So they redesigned the experience and not the algorithm. So testing kills ego and elevates the insight. It shifts the mindset from my idea to the right idea. So design thinking, basically, it teaches us, as we go through the went through the 5 stages: empathy, define, prototype, test, ideate, prototype, test. So basically, design thinking teaches us to listen deeply. Okay, going behind the eyeballs of the consumer, finding his pain points, finding his frustration, finding what makes him happy, which traditional, what you can say, consumer research fail. Then defining clearly which problem to solve. Okay, because it is like all those insights which we get, out of which what is to be solved, it comes out of how, out of the point of view when we do the define part. Then imagining boldly, ideating again and again, iterating, testing, and then creating the prototype and testing honestly on the end users. Okay. So whether we are into the field of teaching, whether we are studying or running a corporation, design thinking gives us a human centric compass. Once you learn design thinking, once you once we learn design thinking, we stop solving problems for people and we start solving problems with people. Okay, we stop solving means this is very important. What happens with design thinking is it stops solving problem for people and we start solving problem with people. Okay. Now, at this stage, basically, whatever I had to discuss, as I said, it being an action verb, normally it's the actual, what you can say, working on the experiential part gives better insights. So this is what you can say in brief design thinking is. I would like to take questions, and if I'm able, means I would like to answer the questions.
I think members can unmute, please, and ask questions.
Dr. Sawant,
Yeah.
to me, it seems to be the refined and developed process of developing a new product. In marketing, we studied the process of developing a new product. There
Yes,
we
sir.
call, first stage we call idea generation. Second
So
is
1 minute, sir.
screening.
I am not able to get 1 minute. Let me check. Means the voice coming from there is too feeble. Just let me see my settings if there is any problem.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. In
Yes, sir.
marketing, we
Right.
study the process called the process of developing a new product.
Yes,
It
sir.
involves various steps. First step we call idea generation. Second
Yeah.
we call screening of ideas. Third we call business analysis.
Yeah.
Means analysis of these ideas from the business viewpoint from their
Yeah.
profitability. Then we develop the product, actual product, instead of
Yeah.
prototype. Then we test it, test marketing.
Yeah.
Then we commercialize. We launch the product on a commercial basis.
Yeah.
So that is the process marketing people use in developing a new product.
Yeah.
And it seems to be a revised, sort of improved and refined version of that. Is it not that?
1 minute, sir.
Power on. Get ready to
Yeah.
go to the future.
So I agree. New.
Your device is ready to pair.
Okay.
You are now connected to your SoundDrum 1.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. Now the voice is clear from your side also. Yes, sir. So basically, new product development and all. Yes, sir. Even I teach marketing. Okay.
Oh,
I
thank
teach
you.
marketing. So let me put on the video, sir. Okay. And my screen sharing was paused. Okay. Just wait. Okay. So, but then the advantage of design thinking is the way you empathize, because traditionally in marketing, sir, what we used to do is traditional or conventional research. Okay.
Right. That's
And
right.
that has got a lot of limitation, because something like we never did studying the extreme, what you can say, consumers. Like say, suppose I want to create an app for weight loss, okay, or for fitness. I will try to study extreme. Normally, what we used to do is we used to study all conventional things. The what you can say, when we look at the normal Gaussian curve, we used to study only what is at the center. The extreme users, the plus 3 sigma and minus 3 sigma, we used to never study. So basically, design thinking helps us to have this view of studying the extreme uses or empathy mapping. Okay, exactly like when we do traditional questionnaire and all, we get many a times answer which are compliant. Okay, social compliant answers we get. So design thinking basically also uses ethnography, like to study the consumer, means to study the empathy maps and all those things. So in a way, it what you can say helps and adds, because one is traditional research also gives you insight, But along with that, we also, if we do this non-traditional, that is design thinking, it helps us to give what you can say better solutions, or what you can say better processes.
Naturally, it is more refined, more
Yeah. Yes.
improved version.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
ठीक है, thank you, thank you.
Hello.
Yeah, please. Next question. If somebody has a question, please.
Dr. Sawant, I'm Vidya Satish from SI's Institute of Comprehensive Education. Very,
Yeah.
very interesting presentation, and it was very nice. So, can you just give us an example of how this can be used in an educational setup? Some simple example, so we understand how we could maybe
Yeah.
curriculum change, or some example will be
So
very useful.
I'll explain you what we did at Kohinoor Management School. I implemented this in 2020.
Okay.
So what I used to do is during the orientation stage, I used to briefly introduce them. And after that, in the first trimester, we used to have a subject called design thinking. Okay. So once student understand design thinking, okay, the entire principles of design thinking, then design thinking can be used, say, in strategy sessions. Okay. It can be used in, say, as sir was talking of new product development. It can be used in consumer behavior. It can be used in HR. So what happens is many a times when, like, say, student are working on some projects and all, they can use design thinking to solve the problems. So this way you can integrate or embed it with other courses.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Any other question?
Yes, sir. I have one question. It
Yes,
was
sir.
very nice session. So, value engineering and design thinking, what is the
Yeah.
basic difference? Because value
Yes.
engineering also promote innovation, and
Hmm.
as Industry 4.0, it
Yeah.
is completely focusing on customizations,
Yeah.
customer experience,
Yeah.
and that's why design thinking concept was developed. But
Hmm.
still, companies are focusing more on value engineering and value analysis.
Yeah.
So,
Basically, when we look at the manufacturing mindset, like, because I also come from manufacturing, having worked in Bombay Dyeing for 12 years. So normally the what we can say, we have more orientation towards the production and manufacturing process. Because many times this question is asked, how it is different than, like, say, Deming's principles and other principles and all. But see, if we look at, as I said initially in my session, what is happening is the world today being VUCA, it is moving from what you can say manufacturing to knowledge creation and service delivery. Okay, so in knowledge creation and service delivery, design thinking will help more, because value engineering and all those concepts, they have come out of the manufacturing setup, or the bedrock for them is manufacturing. So when we are talking of the knowledge economy and service delivery, all those things, design thinking has an upper edge over, say, value engineering.
thank you, sir. Thank you very much. One more question, sir.
Yes, sir.
App- Apple, they declare that iPod is our biggest flop innovation.
Okay.
And there was a case study also on this.
Yeah.
So what exactly they went wrong in this innovation? They have not discussed in the case study what was the wrong in iPod
Okay.
design, but they declared that it was our biggest flop innovation.
Okay, okay, okay. See, basically, they must have said that it was the biggest flop innovation, but when you look the kind of, it was actually the cash cow during that time when it was launched. Okay. As I said, when they launched iPod, it was basically the iTunes, the idea of iTunes and iPod, it gelled well with the customer. So it was one of their, what you can say, biggest selling product. Okay, so I will not be really able to what you can say tell because I have not read the case what you are saying. So I will not be able to contribute on that, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
Any further question? Any further thing? Anything? Anybody would like to ask? If there is no question, then I think Thank you very much, Dr. Sandeep Sawant. It's an exciting session. Got a lot of insight into the whole concept of the design thinking. Thank you very much for being with us. My request from ISTD Navi Mumbai, Mr. Emmanuel Joseph, to kindly give the formal vote of thanks. Emmanuel.
Yeah, hi. So, thank you very much, Dr. Sawant, for delivering such a insightful and enriching session on this topic on design thinking. And I think everyone has lot of clarity, practical approach that you said about this topic, and the real world example with case studies of so many companies that you spoke around was like it was grateful, and it was a lot of insightful too for us. The concept made came alive for every. I think every participant would agree to that. The concept was actually alive, and we could understand from our perspective. And it also deepened our understanding and inspired us to apply it meaningfully in our professional journeys. So we appreciate your time, expertise, and the value that you added in this collaborative platform. And thank you for the host, ISTD Navi Mumbai, HEF, SIES, and Bharatiya Vidyapeeth. Thank you very much, every participants, for joining here and taking this valuable insight from Dr. Sawant. Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Manuel. Thank you, Dr. A.K. Sengupta, sir. Thank you, Dr. Anjali Kalse, madam, Dr. Vaishali Patil, and yes, Dr. Kuldeep Bhalerao, sir, for giving me this platform to share my views. If anything more is because see, 45 minutes to 50 minutes become too what you can say small to explain the concept of design thinking. And again, if I would not, if I would not have used those examples, then it would have become like too conceptual, and then many a time it happens, people don't accept it. So I thought of creating a lot of examples. And then again, as I said, it's action work. You can certainly call me for a 3-4 hours workshop where we actually use all these tools, and then the learning and interaction is, what you can say, more better. Okay. So thank you all. Thanks a lot. And
Thank
good
you.
night.